Hello and welcome. My name is Impersonation. Today on Fraud Friday, we will be talking about impersonation fraud. And to talk about this unique topic, we have Carolina ready. Hello Carolina, how are you?
I'm great. Happy to be back and to talk about impersonation fraud.
Thank you. So to start us off, what is impersonation fraud?
Nkosana, impersonation fraud is when someone actually impersonates you. They take your identity, so personal information, your name, your address, your identity number, your cell phone number, and they go and apply for products. They steal your identity and perpetrate fraud against you and against the financial institution that they're applying at.
Wow. And what is credit profiling?
So what fraudsters do is they actually work in, the full value chain. So if they are impersonating you, Nkosana, they will actually open a bank account and they'll create a fictitious employer. They'll deposit money from the employer. It will look like your salary. So as the bank, we look at it and we say, oh, Nkosana is stable. He's got a salary coming in. He's very diligent. He pays his bills and he's got extra money left in his account. And that's what we call a credit profile. They continue doing that for a couple of months. And after 6 months, we'll look at you and we'll say, well, you're actually a good guy, right? What they then do is they come back into the financial institution. They may apply for a credit card or an unsecured loan or even a vehicle and asset finance. And based on your credit worthiness and your credit profile, we'll say, well, actually, Nkosana is a good guy. Let's give him a nice credit card. And by the way, we're going to apply, confirm and give him a vehicle and asset finance. And what they then do is they get this granted to them and they draw all the money out. They'll draw all the available credit from the credit card. They will draw all the surplus funds that were in this beautiful transactional account where your profile looked so good. And they'll probably pay you the vehicle for 1 or 2 months and sell it. And that's what they do. These fraudsters are so brazen that they'll do that. You will find out once they've stolen your identity when you are listed at the credit bureau as someone who's not paying for his vehicle or not paying for his credit card, and a collections agency starts calling you, and you'll then phone us and say, hang on, that wasn't me, it was someone else who stole my identity.
Oh, it sounds like they're super patient. They make sure and like, I mean, you just spoke about it now. Like for months and months, they keep on depositing money in, but then once they start getting the loans, then they're gone.
Absolutely. It's a very high return business. So they're very patient, and when they steal this money from you and from us, they know where to be found. It's very difficult to trace them. So yes, it's quite a very prevalent fraud type, impersonation fraud.
And tell me, what is a mule account and how is that linked to impersonation fraud?
So a mule account is what fraudsters use when they're perpetrating fraud to cash out money. And I'll give you an example. If your identity has been stolen, so for example, they use your internet banking, they get into your account, they're now stealing your funds, your available funds. To get that out of your account, they will transfer the money into what we call a mule account. And a mule account is the beneficiary account that gets added. They have access to that. So they could have either connected with someone, asked them to willingly give their identity, or they could have stolen someone's identity, opened an account. There's no money in that account. It's dormant. Until they perpetrate this fraud. And if you, Nkosana, have 100,000 Rand in your account, they then use that and transfer that money to this fraudulent beneficiary, which is a mule account, to cash out the funds. So they take the 100,000 Rand from you, put it into the mule account, and take an ATM card, go and draw the money, and that's how they perpetrate it. It's very sophisticated and easy for them to do. And sometimes customers or individuals actually willingly and knowingly, for a facilitation fee, share their credentials or give their identity, and the fraudsters use that. That's a criminal act. And if your identity is used for a mule account, you will be held responsible. So please, I would caution everybody to stay away from something like that.
And based on what you said, I think it's important for me to ask this. What can Standard Bank clients do to protect themselves?
Today, your personal information is accessible from so many channels. And if I look at the digital channels, if you're using social media, look at your privacy settings. Make sure that you don't, have your email address and your cell phone numbers available, your addresses. If you're purchasing stuff from online websites and you have an option to store that information, make sure you trust that site, because if that merchant, and that's how your identity gets breached. If you're not using digital platforms and social media platforms and you're still getting snail mail, so physical post delivered, don't throw your post in the bin. Make sure that you actually tear it up if you have your statements, because fraudsters they go and they snoop around at rubbish dumps. They take that and get your personal information, and they build a profile of who you are and use that to impersonate you.
Wow, thank you so much for that. I'm sure myself and the viewers have learned so much from you. So thank you for your time. Any last comments about impersonation fraud?
No, it's been a pleasure to be here. Yes, I would suggest that you look like you live on social media. Go and have a look at your privacy settings. Make sure that you actually are protecting yourself. And also, many of these online websites, when you're checking in, fraudsters can see where you are or which area you live in. So be very, very wary of that.
No, definitely. And I will be checking my social media after this. And thank you so much for this.
Thank you.
Next time on Fraud Friday, we'll be talking about schemes and scams. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Nkosana Khora. See you soon.